Hi everyone, it's Ed from the Edouard iOS dev account, and for the next 24 hours we'll be together on People Who Code. I'm an independent iOS developer, so if you have any questions about iOS, apps, the indie lifestyle, just drop everything below. So I became a full-time indie developer about 3 months ago now when I moved to Barcelona. Before that, I was working tech jobs in London and teaching myself how to code on the side, so evening, weekends, for about 3.5 years. So I finally took the step, and it's really awesome. So what we'll do in the next 24 hours, I'll try and answer as many questions as I can, and I'll try and give you an insight of what it's like to be in my shoes and work as an independent developer. Let's do it. Yeah, that's right, I'm doing all my UI in code. I did start by using Storyboard when I was a beginner, but then as you start making more and more complex UI elements, it's just a bit more flexible and easy to use to do everything in code. That's what I found. You can literally start with any book, any online course. There's tons of resources out there, and the best habit is consistency and patience. When you start, give yourself 3 months, do it every day, and don't give up. So that's obviously going to depend on your use case. If, like me, you want to do iOS apps, you need a Mac, and I'm currently using a MacBook Pro 15-inch with 16 gig of RAM, and it's working like a charm for the last 4 years. That's a great question. So my main tip for a self-taught developer would be to work on your own project. Just pick an idea, try to build it. You'll get stuck, you'll struggle, but in the end, you'll do the research, you'll figure it out, and that's how you learn so much. So I'm a big fan of Firebase, as you can see. I've been using Firebase almost forever. It's helped me so much in my learning journey because it does so much for you. You don't have to worry about so many things, and you can focus on building the app, which is amazing. Yeah, it can require sacrifice at the beginning. Personally, for the first 6 months, I would say I was spending most of my evenings and half or more of my weekends teaching myself with courses or working on my side projects. Well, clean code. I wish my code was clean, but when you work solo, nobody cares. So as long as it works, I'm fine most of the time. What does happen is that I try to spend some time refactoring things as I learn and progress. So I got lucky there because when I started teaching myself, it was in February of 2015, and Swift 2.0 had been released September before that. So I started with Swift straight away. Well, because I only build native iOS apps with Swift, I don't have much choice. I have to use Xcode, and I think it's a great platform to develop on. Now, if you want to do hybrid stuff and non-native apps, you have tons of options, but I'm no expert there. No, I do not, and I've never really used Unity, and the main reason for that is that I focus on building apps and not games, because it's completely different in the way it's built on iOS and on other platforms as well, so my focus is on apps for now. Yes, I use Git, and my source code for all my apps is stored on Bitbucket. I might switch to GitHub now that they've announced free private repositories for everyone, so I'll consider that. I think they can be fun for a while, but when I'm on Messenger, usually I'm there to chat and not to play. So no, I've never tried to create one. So you could ask this question to 100 people and get 100 different answers, so I'll just give you my own. I think mobile native languages are still going to be big, so Swift, Java and Kotlin mainly. And then anything related to AI and machine learning, like Python, for example. Well, I don't consider myself an expert yet, I'm still learning, but start with Storyboard, keep at it. Once you hit the limitation, move to code, and once you want pixel perfect stuff, start looking into UI layout guides, which are going to help you. I actually have bad memories of Java. I was a business student and I decided to take a minor course in computer science, thinking I would learn how to make websites. It was all way too advanced and it was Java, and I failed everything and I had to give up. Sorry, I'm not going to be really helpful here because I'm self-taught and I only ever did iOS development, which means I know next to nothing about web development. So I won't be of good advice here, I'm really sorry. I think you're looking at it slightly in the wrong way. It's great you know Java, that's awesome. But to pick the next language, you should think what you want to build next. And then based on that, look at the best language to build that. So the real answer is I don't know, because I've never had a real iOS developer job, because I only focus on my own products, and I'm learning at my own pace, and it's been 4 years, and I have no idea if I'm senior level or not. There are many ways you can start freelancing. You can negotiate with your company to let you work remotely for a couple of days a week, or you can just quit your job and go full-time remote and work on your own products, but I would only do this if you have something that generates money. I think it's fine to get started. You'll be able to run Xcode and build simple apps, but at some point you might hit limitations with the graphical card or with the CPU if you need more intensive stuff like games or machine learning or these kind of things. So I don't work from home full-time. Sometimes I go to coffee shops, I meet some friends, work with them, but mostly it's discipline, you know, like you work alone in your business, you have to make a living out of it. So if I don't work, I have to go back to a job, and I don't really want that. So Swift is my main language. Now in terms of web, I know the basic HTML, CSS, a tiny bit of JavaScript, but very limited amount. And I know a bit of Node.js because I use it for Firebase Cloud Functions. Sorry, I misunderstood your question earlier. No, I don't use any of that, probably because I'm self-taught and I'm working alone. So I've never really worked in a big team, and I've never really found a use case for this in my current workflow. Well, it's great to study now. You need to realize that working on your own app is going to make you learn 10x what you'll get in a tutorial, because you will get stuck, and that's expected, but you'll do the research and figure it out, and that's how you learn so much. So for iOS you have 2 languages, Swift or Objective-C. If you get started, pick Swift. It's easier to read and write. The IDE is Xcode, and it comes built in with a great simulator for all iOS devices, but it's great if you have a real device. So there's a great book for that. It's called Crack the Code Interview, which has tons of algorithmic problems and stuff to resolve and a whole bunch of theory around it. So I would go for this one. My advice, go on Google Play, pay the $25 fee to get a developer license and start shipping apps. You'll get user feedback, you'll learn a ton from that, you might even make some money out of it, so go for it. I'm 100% self-taught. I only purchased a few courses on Udemy and some other platforms. I got a few books too, and I studied evenings, weekends. No bootcamp for me. This book right here, Big Nerd Range, that's my all-time recommendation for iOS programming. I wouldn't start with this, but definitely build that in your learning journey if you want to learn. It's great. If you want to check it out, you can swipe up. So Vapor is a web framework that's written in Swift, which means you can build a website, an API, you can run some server-side code that you've written in Swift. I don't know much about it, but I'm tagging someone here that knows much more than myself about that. Dude, 13. When I was 13, I was playing video games all day. It's great that you want to learn. I think if you don't know much, you should start with the basic HTML, CSS, and then take it from there. Well, Swift and Xcode are amazing products to develop on. You develop for a platform that has great devices, lets you reach a huge user base of millions of users. You can make money with that, or you can find really highly paid jobs. No, I never actually looked for a mentor. Maybe I should have, but it was all self-taught. What I do have now though is a mastermind Slack channel where a bunch of my iOS dev friends are, and then we help each other out. So I don't share revenue metrics for personal reasons, but I can say that there's definitely a way to live off apps that you sell on the App Store. I've seen many people around me do it, and I hopefully will be at that level very soon if everything goes well. No, I've never built apps for Android myself. I know a bunch about the Android environment though, because I worked for Google Play for about 1.5 years when I was in London, but I never built an Android app. Who knows, maybe someday. So coding is a big part of what I do, of course, but as an indie you also have to do design, marketing, email support. And talking to users is actually one of the best way to stay creative, because they'll tell you what they want and then you can make the app better, and that's what I do. So that's probably a question I get the most. I actually wrote a blog post about my journey and all the courses and books I went through, and I also added a suggested roadmap for someone who would start today. So if you want to check that out, you can swipe up. So that's a super personal question, and I'm sure you go ask 100 people, you'll get 100 different answers. But my take is that I'm all in for native apps, but I'm probably biased because that's what I do. So yeah, of course, the more time you put in, the better you'll get, right? But careful, don't just do courses, also try to build stuff by yourself. And when you do courses, make sure you code alongside the teacher. Don't just follow and watch, because you won't learn as much. You should go back a few stories. I just talked about a blog post I wrote with all the things I've done and my suggestions to learn iOS today. So I know a bit of Python because that's the first language I got introduced to when I started teaching myself, before Swift. But for apps on iOS, I always use Swift. I've never used Python for that. A tip for an Instagram account. Well, beyond the language, because of course there are enough Portuguese speakers around the world to build an audience there, I would say add value. Don't just post pretty photos of computers or setup, just add some value and people will follow along. So I've already attended a couple indie hackers meetup in Barcelona. If you don't know indiehackers.com, go check it out. It's a great website for entrepreneurs who build online businesses by themselves. And it's been great so far. So when you work as an indie and you ship your own product, you really want to get in touch with your users as much as you can, show them that you care and that you're listening to their feedback. And replying to reviews is a great way to do that. So let's dive in. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're at university, might as well get your degree, right? If you're self-teaching on top of that, that's great. And it can be something completely different. I'm a business major, but I taught myself how to code. That's fine, and you can do the same. Yes, I have a master's degree in business administration from business school in Belgium. Getting jobs, I don't think it would be too complex, but right now I don't really want to apply for jobs. I want to make a living with apps, so that's what I'm trying to do. So I use both Xcode's built-in source control system and the terminal sometimes too. Yeah, I use CocoaPods in some of my projects, not all of them. So this is, for example, for my main app, for the YouTube tracker app, I have all these pods installed. I'm trying to keep it to the minimum necessary, usually. So this is definitely my main app. This was more like a side project. Indie bugs I might continue working on soon, and then I have an idea for a Twitch related app and a real estate related app, but I haven't started anything there yet. I heard good things about Flutter, and I know Google is pushing it hard, but I didn't really try it yet. I'm a bit too busy with shipping features for my main app and trying to build the revenue to a sustainable level, and then I'll see what's next. So Core ML is the only thing I played around with when it comes to machine learning. And I had just followed a quick tutorial to build an app that uses the camera to recognize objects. So you can follow whatever you want and it would try and pick up objects. Well, as a dev, you have to learn how to control your frustration, because it's gonna happen all the time. A bad bug, a bad release, a competitor that starts doing the same thing as you. Just take a break, do some design, do something else, and then come back to whatever you were doing. actually wrote a full blog post on my process for design, where you see my first crappy designs and the approach I follow today, how to get better at design basically. Alright guys, that's it for this morning of work. That's gonna wrap up the takeover. I'll just share a few links if you wanna follow me online. And yeah, keep up the hustle.